I just live my life, don't give a damn how people think about who or what I am. They all...
Right, good morning and welcome back. Okay, today, static balancing a motorcycle wheel. How hard can it be? Well, it's one of those tasks that when you do it for the first time, you will have mastered it. It is simplicity itself. It's just down to how precise you want to be and how long you want to take over doing it. But you need to know the basic procedure. There are more and more people these days fitting their own tyres and buying them from the internet, getting a little tyre bead breaker and doing it at home. And if you're going to do that, then you need to know how to balance the wheels as well, because that's extremely important, I'm sure you'll agree. Now, all you need to do in order to carry out the task is build a little rig like this. You can buy them and they're quite expensive. You have to store them when you're not using them for 11.5 months of the year. But this little rig cost me next to nothing to make. It's quite simply a couple of axle stands with the tops nicely cleaned off so that they're all completely spotless. Piece of threaded bar and a couple of little cones I turned up on the lathe. The next thing I need to carry this out is some sticky weights. Now I bought these sticky weights, little black lead weights from the internet. You can buy them in silver, whatever colours actually you like, but black is the normal colour. They're sticky back with 3M tape on, and they are the traditional way to balance wheels, and that's what I'm going to show you today, because for 35 years that has worked very well indeed for me. I know there are other methods and products out there to balance wheels, but this is the traditional method, and this is what I want to share with you today if I can. So the first thing I need in order to do is take the wheel out of the bike, pop it in the rig and show you how it's balanced at the moment. Okay, right, now before I pop the wheel in the rig, there's a couple of things to be sure of before you do so, and that is that it's level. What we're going to do, these two little axle stands, the troughs on the top of them, which form the natural top of any axle stand, they're going to act as the area of rolling movement that the bar moves within. So that's what we're doing. We're looking to make sure that this bar moves backwards and forwards freely in the rig. Now, if these are leaning back or forward because your bench is not level, or the table it's on is not level, or the ground if you're doing it on the floor, whatever, that means that the wheel's going to roll towards the lowest point and it's not going to give an accurate balance. So it's very important to make sure the rig is level, first of all, as level as it can be. So we put those level. The best way to tell is put the bar on top and then check. It should be free rolling. I'll bring you in close on this. Right, this is important. The bar must roll absolutely freely on the axle stands, nothing impeding it at all. That's why I cleaned them off like that and deburred them with a file and everything. Got them absolutely bang on. There we are. Now if the naked bar rolls that freely, then the wheel is going to be absolutely bang on, because that's far heavier. That's lovely. That's a nice rig there. Super. It also shows the bar itself's not bent. We're going to trap the wheel in between, then we're going to bring the axle stands right in up against it so that everything's solid, and then give about 5mm of clearance either side so nothing actually chafes, and then let that roll freely to its happy point. And if the rig bar is rolling freely on its own, then so is the wheel going to. Right, let's pop it in. Right, now nip them up tight by hand. Don't have to do it too tight, but just enough to centralise the spacer tube in the middle. As you probably know, that in the middle of any hub there's a spacer tube that sits in there that holds the two bearings apart. And if that is not pinched, if the whole lot isn't linked up, that central tube in there can be offset slightly. It's a 19mm inside diameter on the central spacer tube, and this is a 12mm bar. So it doesn't fill that tube out. There's a gap in there. And that means if that central tube is sitting slightly to one side, because they should move around, there is a little bit of movement in them, some more than others. And if it's slightly offset in any way, it's going to give you an odd balance. So it's important to nip them up by hand like that to make sure that everything is centralised with these two cone spacers, and then it will roll on the bar itself in these little axle stand troughs. Right, okay, that's got everything ready. Put it in the centre. One final task is take any labels off, most specifically these foil ones, because they're not going to make any difference, to be honest. They don't weigh anything. You don't need them on there, you're not going to ride with them on, so get rid of them. There's a little paper one there, but that's no issue. Now at this point, let the wheel take its own pendulum action until it stops. It's time consuming and a bit boring, and sometimes you're tempted to stop it and see if it stops at the bottom. Let it go. Let it find its own place. If you've got everything right with your rig, that will naturally come to its rest with the heaviest part of the wheel at the bottom. Right, that's taken about 4 minutes, and that's still moving, very, very slightly. It's still moving, which demonstrates the accuracy of this rig and how free rolling it is. And I think we're almost out of stock now. So the next thing to do, I've gone and bought these lead weights from the net, as you've seen, and they are 5 gram and 10 gram. So there's a 10 gram weight, one of these little ones. I want to bring them over to show you what they look like. There we are. They come on a little strip like that with a sort of sticky back 3M peel off thingy, and then that's got a proper permanent sticky on the back, and you warm them up a little bit, stick them on the wheel once you've degreased it. That's what they come like, little lead weights. Right, obviously I'm not going to stick the weight on permanently at this point because it might not be right. So up here for thinking, bit of common sense, just get the weight, a little bit of masking tape, and just stick it in with some masking tape for now. And it's got to go directly above at exactly 12 o'clock. So I'm going to pop it in there. Okay, now bring the wheel back to the point where it's at 9 and 6 and let it go again. And see if that makes a difference and slows down that movement. Right, it's slowing down the pendulum action. I still need another one. So we'll take that one off. That's the right place for it. Right, I've gone up to the maximum amount on this side. It's still a little bit of imbalance, so I'm going to go on the other side of the rim and equal it out. You'll get to a point where wherever you put it, it doesn't move. And that's balanced. Straightforward, isn't it? Happy. Right, there we are. Now I've got the right amount of weight in the right place. I just need to take off the masking tape, sight that exactly there, stick it on permanently. I'm going to use a little bit of nail varnish remover just to degrease the wheel and then stick them on nice and permanently. And once you've finally stuck them in place, just do one more check. Make sure you're happy. There we are. The only other test after this is going to be on the road, whether it rides nicely, and we can't do that today. So I'm happy with that. Just pop the front wheel back in, get the back wheel out. Right, centralise on the rig and let it find its gravity spot. Now don't be surprised if you put a wheel in your rig one day and it's bang on. It's probably happened to me twice in 30 years, but it can happen. And obviously not this one. Right, there we are. Now that's quite quickly found its gravity point. It's not where the valve is, the valve's there. So the weight's at the bottom, we stick some weight at the top. Let's start with 20 grams and see if that's too much. I'll put 20 grams at the top on this side, still got a weight at the bottom. Right, let's pop 20 on the other side. Once you're happy, stick them there. That'll do. Okay. Happy with that? Nice. Yeah. there we are. Okay, a little over 2 hours in my time. What are we now? 12:15, started at just before 10, so 2.5 hours or so now. In your time, I reckon that'll take you about an hour and a half. Obviously, I'm moving cameras around, talking to you. It does take a little bit longer, but the process is only lengthened by that time you take letting that wheel settle to its lowest point. You can see how simple it is. It really is easy. Once you've got the heaviest point at the bottom, which gravity and nature makes for you, you stick the weight at the top. That's how to do it. Now, obviously, it isn't as simple as that, because sometimes you'll stick the weight at the top and it will balance at 9 o'clock. And then it will balance halfway between the two, and you'll end up with weights stuck all over the rim, and you can get in a mess. If you do that, don't worry, take them all off again and have another go. Just start again. If you're happy and you put them back in the bike and you ride it, and it doesn't ride perfectly, smoothly and razor sharp all the time through all of the speed range, take it to a professional. If you're sure that you've got it right, you really can't judge that until you get it on the road, can you? I can't judge if they're 100%. I know that they're static wheel balanced okay. Put them in the bike. If I ride out the road, the front starts to shake its head a little bit at a certain speed. That's classic out of balance front wheel situation. And I will take it to my tyre guy and he will do it for me, because he's been doing just that, tyres and wheel balancing and so on, for 25-30 years. He's a proper experienced professional, and I don't think there's any indignity in that. If you've done something like this, it is your safety. Doesn't matter how much money you save, how much you want to do it yourself, how much pride you get in doing it yourself, it doesn't matter. Your safety is paramount, especially if you carry people on the back of your bike. So whenever you're going to do this, have the humility to make sure that if you're not sure, if you're not 100% when it comes to riding it up the road at the end, take it to a professional tyre shop and get them to do it for you, at least to check it. And they won't have any problem with that, and it'll only be tea money. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Simple skills, static wheel balancing. Take it easy, ride safe. See you next time.
Well, just in case you wonder why